about your parents, both on your mother's side and your father's side?
Can't tell you anything about my daddy. Like I said,
He left when you were...
well, she ran him off.
Oh, she did?
She ran him off. He was a bad fella.
What was wrong? Or what was
Well, he drank real bad, and according, now let me tell you this first. My mother never mentioned him to me.
Is that right? So all the
But
stories
my
you...
sister, after Mama died, my sister would tell me all the things he used to do.
This is Lucy.
Uh,
Mm-hmm.
And she said he beat Mama, drug razor blades over her throat. You probably don't want to hear this.
Well,
Take a gun and run her and her children out of the house. Come in sometime, throw the food out that she had cooked for supper and something down the furnace. So he was bad. So when I was born, I was 3 weeks old, and Lucy said, Mama ran him off.
because she was worried about you.
Well, I guess she'd had all she could take. I guess that was the whole story.
Who could blame her?
And I was three weeks old. And all the time that I remember him ever coming back, I think I was about 5 years old. And I remember him coming in, Mama was cooking. I can remember her standing at the stove cooking when he come in. And he'd sit down in a chair and he took me up in his lap. He gave me $1, and Mama sent me to bed.
And what was his name?
Joseph William.
Joseph William Stiegel. And where did he go? Do you know? Did he go out west or?
No, I think he went somewhere up around Rocky Mount or Roanoke, and he got married again.
Oh, he did?
See, Mama and him, neither one didn't ever get married, even after he
Which one was it?
Papa. Papa. And we didn't know where he was when he died. And nobody let us know.
But he got married again, so he
married again.
I guess he got divorced and...
Well, from what I understood, he got divorced from his second wife. Or did she die, huh?
You mean the big fat one?
Yeah, real
She
fat.
died.
Oh,
And then,
she was a large woman?
Yeah, yeah. And then he got married again, and we don't know where he was. I didn't have, some of the other children might have, but I didn't.
Did he have any more children?
No.
No,
No.
just the 7.
Well, he didn't get married, no, he didn't get married as long as Mama was living.
Okay.
They never did get a divorce.
Oh, okay. So when he was a widower, then he got married
He
again.
was separated.
Amazing. Now that's on your father's side. Did you ever know his parents?
No.
Never. They weren't.
No, I didn't know hardly any of his. Aunt Emma and Uncle John. See, his brother was named John too. And Aunt Emma and Uncle John was the only one of his people that I really knew.
And on your mother's side, that was Juliana Minter, and her father's name was Connie.
Yeah.
And her mother, Puss Hatcher. We said that. Right. And did they had 2 children? One was one was.
They had a lot of children, but I never did. She had a brother. Well, his name was John, and she had a brother named Jim, but we wasn't close to them. I did once in a while when Walter came home. He'd take us up to see Uncle Jim, but I really, was so little.
How old were you then, when he would come home to visit and go up to Uncle Jim's
when
house?
Walter would come home. Oh, I was up. I must have been around 6 and 7.
And where did he come home from? Where did he live? Do you think?
Where was it he went? Well, first he went to South Carolina, and then he went. Up north somewhere.
Okay. Oh, did he go up to Detroit?
I believe that was where he went.
Okay.
And then him and Blanche moved back to South Carolina.
That's it. He lived in Detroit. I knew that.
Yeah.
Because my dad told me he lived in Detroit.
Well, I had to think, but if you hadn't mentioned it, I'm not a...
So
I'm
when
not
he
as
came
smart.
home to visit you, he might have had his children with him.
No, not when he didn't have any children when he was coming home at that time.
Oh, that's right. That would have
Now,
been.
he did come to see me and Marvin just before him and Blanche separated.
Oh.
And he had all of his children were with him, his daughter and Norman
Mm-hmm.
and
Bill and Bill and Norman.
Bill. Yeah, and Bill was in service.
Hmm.
And they came to see us
Mhm.
in Martinsville. And then it wasn't long after that before him and Blanche separated.
And did he came down to visit you down here?
No,
No,
we lived in Martinsville.
You lived in Martinsville,
Yeah.
and he came with.
Walter Ruth came by here and visited us years
Oh,
ago.
yeah, down here, but he's talking about a long time ago.
The old
Well,
days.
this was a long time ago.
Well, it's
Well-
long time ago, it was, yeah. But
When-
that was when my children were little.
Hmm. So Bill was in the service,
Uh-huh.
and Norman and Shannon came with him. Came with your brother Walter,
Uh-huh.
and they came to visit you in Martinsville.
In Martinsville, Virginia.
Mm-hmm.
And my third child was about a year old.
Mm-hmm.
I hadn't had before. I got 4 children. I had Doris, Jean, Shirley, and Judy.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And
And how old were they at the time?
well, Shirley was a baby. She was about 1 year old. Judy was about no, Judy was a baby. Judy was a baby.
Mhm.
Shirley was about 5. No, she was a baby at that time. I hadn't had Judy at that time. Let me back up here.
Now that would have been about 1945 or 46, probably, or maybe 44. Not far from there, because that's about the time my dad went into the service.
Well, I have to think about that. Let's see. Doris and Jean was in school. Doris was a little about 20 months older than Jean, and they were in the very first, second grades. I don't remember which. And then Shirley was about 1 year old. 1 year old.
Mhm.
I don't keep up with years, and I can't.
Yeah, that's all right.
And that's what I said about Walter. He could remember everything he ever done, and I think your dad does too.
Yeah, I can see the family resemblance a little bit in your face and the way you say some of the words from my grandfather, who I got to meet a couple of times as an adult.
Did you ever see Lucy? Did you ever know Lucy?
No, I don't think I ever met Lucy.
Well, everybody said me and Lucy looked a lot alike.
Hmm. Well, yes. Well, and do you ever see? Did you know Ruth? You knew Ruth, of course.
Oh yeah, Ruth and they've been since last year they came to visit.
Oh, that's
And
nice.
a couple of years before that, and then her and Walter came down several times.
Oh, good.
Myron and Sam and Ruth been
Mhm.
down here 3 or
Mhm.
4 times to visit. But don't ask me what day.
Well, I won't. I won't. Can you tell me more about Walter when he was growing up? As you said, he left home to go off and go to work, building wheels and tires for cars, and up in Detroit.
Kind of studied there for a while with trying to build a radio, working on it. Something he had. His room at home was stacked about that high, all the way around the walls with books.
Mm.
I guess it was mechanical books or
Mhm.
something, because I was so. Let's say I can't remember him. Like I said, I can remember him coming home a few times,
Mhm.
but I can't. And getting after us about our manners at the table.
Oh, is that right?
Oh yeah, we was all scared of him. We really had to have good manners at the table.
That's
And,
this is a great
He
story.
come home to see Mama quite often,
Hmm.
and that was before he married.
I'll be right there.
Okay.
Before him and Blanche married,
Hmm.
and after.
Hmm.
And like that's when I got to see Uncle Jim. That was the only time that Mama ever got to go anywhere was when Walter come home, 'cause he had a car and he'd take us to see. Uncle Jim had a sister named Sis,
Hmm.
and he and
Well, Sis wasn't her real name. That's what everybody called her,
yeah,
though.
you know, I don't even know her real name. I really don't. But anyway, her and Walter were real fond of each other.
Oh, that's
And
nice.
he always took us to see them.
Mhm.
And we'd always have dinner at Uncle Jim's house. I can remember that.
Now, how old do you think Walter was when he was doing this? Do you think he was 22 or 23 years old?
You know, probably that was
Well,
about right because I think him and Blanche married not too many years after he left home.
It's when you only meet somebody and they're your grandfather. The first time you meet them, they're already old. It's hard. It's hard to imagine them as a young person, as a young man, or you know, a young lady.
Yeah, and you know, I don't have no pictures of Walter when he was real young.
I have one picture, and it's a picture of him in his workshop, working on starter motors or generators for cars, and the batteries, of course.
I think that's about all he ever did, almost.
Don't you have some old pictures of
Of Walter when he was
the
young.
family, different people?
Oh, I've got just one picture, but you probably got one too.
Oh,
Of a old picture of all the family except me and Grandma, Mom
Oh.
and Papa.
I don't know that I have seen it. I might like to see that.
Let's see,
May
who
I?
sent me that picture?
Father was born in Kentucky,
Mm-hmm.
Ashland, Kentucky. Father, he was born in Lynchburg, Virginia.
Mm-hmm.
I was born in West Virginia.
In West Virginia. Okay.
We came down here in 46.
Oh. Mm-hmm.
And
So you've been down here in Florida since 1946. In this house?
we
Or
didn't build this house until about 56.
uh-huh. Oh my. It seems like a long time ago. Of course,
I can
to
tell you what happened to all of our pictures and everything we had when you get to look. This is all of them except me and Grandma.
Oh, is that? You know, I have seen this picture, but if you would tell me who's in it, that would be a big help to
All
me.
right, I'll tell you. You want to get the picture
Mhm.
there?
Yeah, let's see. Can I get a little closer? That's about it. I can't really see much more than that. But tell me who's in it, if you would.
All right. Oh, you want me to
No,
stand?
it's just you just tell me, because I'll look at the picture and I'll know.
All right, let me turn it around here. Now, this is Walter. See, that's,
That's Walter.
you can
on
tell
the-
he's
Mhm.
pretty young there.
Mhm.
That's Walter. That's Papa.
Mhm.
And that's Jamie sitting in Papa's lap.
Mhm.
And that's Lucy, and that's Mama.
Mhm.
And this is Joseph, and that's Dan.
And where are you?
Me
You-
and Grant wasn't here yet.
You weren't born
I
yet.
don't-
Oh.
well, we might have been, but we didn't. No, we
Oh.
wasn't born yet.
Mhm,
I don't think neither one of them. No, no, we wasn't, because Lucy's just a baby there.
You know, people say that your father looks a little bit like Jesse James.
Maybe
people
he
say
must
that?
try to act like he do.
One of the pictures looked like Jesse James. He had
I
a big
know.
old black hat on.
I know. That's the truth. That
Now,
is the
here's an old picture that I've got of Aunt Emma and Uncle John
Oh,
and
my.
their little daughter Mary.
Mhm.
And I had one, but you couldn't even tell who Mama was.
My goodness.
And she was holding me and Grant,
Mhm.
and you couldn't tell who we were either. I mean,
Oh,
their
goodness.
eyes didn't show up. And
The picture was just too blurry. My goodness. Now that's who?
that's Mama's sister, Aunt
Oh.
Emma, the one that married Uncle John, Papa's
Oh, okay.
brother.
That's Papa's
and
brother.
that's their little daughter. They only
Mhm.
had one girl.
Mm. My goodness. Oh, that's a great picture, and my father gave me a copy of that, and so I have that picture at home. And
You do?
I do have that
Well,
one.
I tell you who got a hold of it.
Mhm.
When Fanny died, Daryl and Patricia went down there going through all of the things. They found this picture in the trash.
Oh my.
Done and Daryl had us all a picture made off of it. And
Well, that was nice of him.
Lucy had, and she gave me a picture this size of Mama holding me and Moran. But you couldn't tell whom. I was going to have it enlarged, but everywhere I took it, they said that you wouldn't be able to, they couldn't bring it out clear enough to tell who they were.
Hmm. Sometimes you can only work with what you have in the negative. You can't, or with the print. You can't make it any better than
I
that.
took it everywhere and to see if it could, because I thought, in fact, when Daryl sent me that picture, I cried like a baby.
Oh, Well, now you've been in this house since 1956. Is that right?
Yeah.
Seems to me that's a pretty long time ago.
It is
I was born in 51, so and that's about the same age that you moved into this house that I was when my grandfather came to take you to visit his brother.
Uh-huh.
Or whose brother did he take you to visit?
Uncle Jim.
Uncle Jim. That's right. And Uncle Jim was.
It was his uncle too. It
was his uncle.
It was Mama's. Mama. Well, I think Papa had a brother named Jim too.
Mm-hmm.
I imagine it was James, and they called him Jim. That's all I ever heard him called.
Mm-hmm.
But this was Mama's brother, and they lived way out in the country. And I remember, and you know, I can't. I'm sure I've heard his wife's name mentioned, but I can't remember it right off because I was little.
Yeah.
But I can remember her staying in the kitchen and cooking for us,
Mm-hmm.
fixing a big dinner every time we went.
Now, did she have a wood-fired stove, or
Oh,
did
yes,
was
so
it
did I.
coal? It was a wood stove.
And Marvin started out with the wood stuff.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Well, it's
No water in the house, spring water,
you had to bring water. It was you called it bring water.
spring
Oh,
water.
spring water. You had to bring it in from the spring.
We carried it from the spring, and then when we moved in with his mother, she had a pump on the back porch.
Mm-hmm.
The kitchen was separated from the house.
It was
Yeah.
because.
On an old long house
Mm-hmm.
out in the country, and the kitchen, very big, huge kitchen
Mm-hmm.
with a wood stove. And
That is
a
a
pump on the back on the porch.
it's a lot of work. It's a hard life, but you know, in those days you could count on yourself, and you could raise your food, and you could do your work, and you'd have a place to live and food to eat. Now,
Well, we lived out in the country quite a while, and we didn't have running water. And, I mean, we're pretty old too. We go way back too.
well, you were born in 1915, right?
And Martin was born in 14.
Now, my father was born when you were 11 years old.
When I was 11.
When you were 11, it was 1926, and my father was born. Walter had William Francis Teagle, my father. And you were 1915, he was 1926, so you were 11 years old when he was born. Do you remember
When your dad was
when my dad was
Oh
born?
yeah,
When-
I can tell you how I can remember that a little bit. Walter sent for. Now Bill was here because I was carrying him around when Shannon was born. Walter called for Mama to come up there and be with Blanche
Mm-hmm.
when she had the baby, and of course Mama had to take me with her because what I'm leaving me with, and I took your dad. He was little. I don't know exactly how old, but very little. Big enough. He was little enough that I could carry him.
Mm-hmm.
And I went across the street. Blanche sent me for something. I don't remember what it was. But anyway, I took him in my arms and went across the street.
Mm-hmm.
And when I was coming back home, I fell down the steps with him.
Oh my!
Oh, I remember that, and I was so scared.
Did he cry?
Oh, he cried, but it didn't really hurt him, and I didn't tell Walter I fell down the steps with him.
Well, I'm recording this, you know, so
Oh, yeah.
so the truth is out now.
I think I told him. I think I told Bill about it, but
Yeah.
I never did tell
It
Walter.
frightened him, did it?
And I can remember Walter coming home from work at lunch while we were up there
Mm-hmm.
and feeding Bill his lunch, your dad,
Mm-hmm.
his lunch.
What kind of work did Walter do?
That's what automotive.
In the Stiegel Automotive Electric.
That's all he ever did, I guess, for a living.
Mm-hmm. And
That's all I ever knew him to do.
and that was in Gaffney.
I think he went to work for some of Blanche's people, maybe her dad, I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
And he worked for him a long time.
Mm-hmm.
And then he got out on his own. And as far as I know, well, now I'll take that back too. He went and worked in the cotton mill before he left home a while.
He did. He worked in the
But I
cotton
didn't
mill.
know anything about that because
The cotton mill is where they take cotton from the field, or for the bales of cotton,
And weave
weave it into thread and then into cloth.
I think all my brothers and my sister went to work in those cotton mills up there when they wasn't much more than 12 years old.
Mm. And it provided not a good wage. It was, but it was.
I imagine it was almost nothing.
Mhm.
'Cause
Didn't have to pay a kid very much in those
it
days.
was almost nothing when me and Laura got married too.
It's-
Almost nothing.
hmm What do you remember anything else about any other stories about my father, Bill? Or
No, well, I didn't because I never, I guess the fact of that after Walter, they began to have children, he didn't get to come home that often either.
Mhm.
Because I really can't remember him, you know.
Now my dad had an older sister who died shortly after
Sharon.
born. No, Colleen.
Who?
Colleen
Oh, yes, she died at birth.
at birth, was
Yeah,
it?
she had, it wasn't pneumonia, it was something else, I can't think what it was now.
Mhm.
But, I think he also called Mama to come up there then
Mhm.
too.
Mhm.
But I don't remember that, I don't remember that too much.
Do you remember Norman?
Who? No.
Norman.
Yeah, Norman was with them when they come to Martinsville to see us that one time.
Mm-hmm. How?
All of the children was with them.
Mm-hmm.
But I can't remember, you know, how old they were.
Did you know Norman very well?
No, I didn't really know any of them very well.
Mm-hmm.
Because, see, Walter never did live close to
That's
us.
true. Mm-hmm. Tell me a little bit about Walter, your brothers and sisters. Walter was the oldest,
Walter's the oldest.
and
And I do know that he helped Mama. He used to send a little money along when he could, but that was before anybody's got married.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
And Joseph married and left home, and I think they moved to Burlington, North Carolina, and they had 5 children.
mm. There were a lot of large families. That's the one thing I've noticed in the family tree work that I've done, is there are a lot of large families. 8 and 9 children is not unusual.
Well, people there back then, you know, they did have a lot of children.
Mm-hmm. It was.
Let's see, let me see if I can count how many. Well, you know how many,
You had 6 brothers and sisters.
but I was trying to think how many children Walter had. I can't
Well,
remember.
Walter had
One that died.
one that died. Then there's Bill, my dad, and Norman, and Shannon, and then later Ben and Jim, or James Jonathan. That's 5.
Yeah, he had 5.
Mm-hmm. And then my dad had 5.
Well, let me see, Joseph had Irene and Inez and Nathan and Shirley and another little boy, and I can't think of his name, and I was just talking about it the other day.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, he had 3 girls and 2 boys, so that was 5. That was Joseph.
Mm-hmm.
Dan only had 1 child, a girl,
Who did?
Dan.
Oh, Dan. Oh, I see.
And Jenny, and Fanny had a little girl that died too. She died with pneumonia. It was their first child. And then she had Donald and Dennis
Mm-hmm.
and Don.
Do you remember when?
No, I mean Darryl. She had 3 boys and then a little girl.
Do you remember when Walter and Ruth got married? What that was
No.
like? Because you were pretty little then.
I remember, but I don't remember the day.
I'm sorry, not Walter,
But
Ruth. I meant.
Lucy wrote and told me about them getting married after they got married, before they had any children.
Mm-hmm. And then after that, they were pretty much had their own lives to lead, and it was a lot to keep them busy.
Well, that's right. People had to work then. They didn't have no, all these perks I have now. Perks everybody has now.
That's right.
There wasn't any perks then.
No 4 weeks of paid vacation. Is that what you
No,
mean?
You better believe it wasn't. You better believe
We have it. It seems to me we have it pretty easy
quite
now.
often, him and Blaine. And I do remember one other thing too, and Lucy told me this. See, most of what I know about the family, Lucy told me. Mama never did talk about her. She never did mention Papa to me.
Mm.
And I said I must have been real stupid to wonder why I didn't have a daddy around the house.
Well, but kids accept the environment they grow up
I
in,
guess
whatever
that's
it
what I
is.
did. Well, I've always kind of accepted just whatever happens to me. I just kind of take it as what was supposed to be. Is to be, will be.
Mm-hmm.
But I do remember Blanche and Walter coming home quite a bit after him and her married. And I believe she was a little bit older than he was.
Oh, is that right?
I think, yeah, I believe she was.
Let's see.
And then see, I didn't really see any of his children when they were real little because
Yeah, she was
he
2
just
years
kind of
older.
stopped coming home.
Yeah, she was 2 years older than him. Did you know Blanche's family at all?
No,
No.
I met her sister one time, and
Mhm.
I can't remember her name, but she was real pretty. I remember that she was real pretty.
Oh, she had. There were quite a few. Her mother was Fanny Ellen Grubb, and she married John William Barnhill, and they had 10 children. Thomas, James, Blanche was number 3, then Mabel, John, Casper, Forrest, Dossie, Ellen, and Herbert. That's 10 children. That's a big family.
That is a big thing.
And then with Walter's family being so large, that's a lot of aunts and uncles. And then each of them had large families. Well, a lot of them had large families. I don't know that they all
Well,
did. But
I'm sure that Mama had quite a few sisters. I know she had one named Mary, and she had, of course, Aunt Emma.
Mhm.
She had one named, they called her Lizzie, Aunt Lizzie.
that was
And, well, I mentioned Mary, yeah, she had
Mhm.
one named Mary. And she had, of course, Uncle Jim, but she had some more
and this is who? Who had those?
Mama's brothers.
Oh, your mother was Puss Hatcher, and so your mother had. Oh yeah, there was Jim and Mary and John and Maggie and Emma Jane, and Julia, and Callie.
Oh,
Is that right?
yeah,
Okay.
so she had quite
That's a big family too. So there's a very large family. Now, Uncle Marvin, tell me a little bit about your family, if you would.
Well, there ain't much to our family.
Did you come
As
from?
far as I know, I don't have any kin left at all, huh?
Well, not living, but he don't mean whether living or not, about your brothers.
I had 2 brothers,
Mhm.
half sister.
You had 2 brothers that died too.
Mm-hmm.
You had 2 brothers that died when they were babies.
Well, yeah, two that died in infancy.
Mhm.
One of them was older than me, and one of them was younger than me.
Mhm. And your brothers, their names were what? The brothers that lived, and the sister. Did you have a sister?
Yeah, the half sister, she died just here a couple of years ago. But
No, it's been longer than that, honey. It's
So-
about
we
5.
always argue about
So that's
I
all
was
right.
You know, when we was arguing about how long Herbert had been dead, you kept saying he'd been dead about 5 years.
yeah.
And I went and looked it up, and he'd been dead 7 years.
Well, 7's about 5, isn't it?
Well, what started it all was trying to figure out how long he'd quit smoking.
Oh.
And I knew he quit smoking before Herbert died.
Oh, and did you used to smoke?
Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Well, good for you. That's
Not now, you know.
yeah.
Now, my father, he was killed in the coal mines in an accident.
Is that right?
I was just a little fellow.
Was
yes,
it a
I-
gas explosion?
No, these motors, you know, that pull the old cars out of the mines.
Mm-hmm.
He operated one of them,
Oh, is that right?
and the brakes failed.
Ooh.
Going downhill and
Just managed
Just
to-
had a
crashed.
and he couldn't stop, and finally that came to the end of the line, and the coal cars didn't stop either. Oh,
He had
From
all
what
them
you said, it
cars
was
of coal
crashed.
behind him. They just kept pushing him.
sure. That's a shame. That and how you were just a young fellow then.
I think I was about 5.
Goodness. And your mother?
She married again,
And that's where you get the stepsister
and yeah.
or the half sister. I mean,
Mhm.
okay. And
She married a Curry.
And what was your father's name?
Walter.
Walter.
Walter Lee.
That's a great name. And your mother's name?
My mother,
What was your mother's maiden name?
Kirk.
And her first name?
Kirk.
Kirk. But her first name.
first name.
What was her given name?
Her given name?
Mm-hmm.
Cappadocia.
Yeah.
Cappadocia?
And they called it Docia.
They called her Docia.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a beautiful name.
Name out of the Bible. You know.
It's an unusual name these days.
I don't think I've ever.
I don't think well, that's what I was going to say, but I didn't know how to say it any nicer than it's an unusual name. It's a very pretty name, Cappadocia. They called her Docia. My goodness. And then she remarried, and her new husband's name was what? Your stepfather.
Fitzhugh Curry.
Fitzhugh Curry. How do you spell Fitzhugh?
F-I-T-H-E-W, I believe Fitzhugh.
Just the way it
I
sounds.
think
Everybody just
F-I-T-H-U-W.
called him Fitz.
Fitz. Curry. And where was he from? What part of the world? Where was he
North
from?
Carolina.
What?
North Carolina, honey. I don't think he's hearing me.
No, I'll speak up a little bit. Is that better?
I can hear all
Okay.
right. I just,
You're not sure.
it's not plain.
Oh, okay. He was from North Carolina.
Yes.
Fitzhugh was from North Carolina, and what was your stepsister's name, or your half sister?
Stepsister,
Half sister.
Mamie, and her second name was Bell. Mamie Bell.
Mamie Bill.
Maybe,
Curry.
Maybe Bell.
Mamie Bill Curry then.
Uh-huh.
And did your brother? What was your brother's name?
Herbert Lee.
Herbert Lee.
And,
Sorry.
Charles Elmer.
And both of those lived. Those are the ones who lived past infancy.
Yeah, well, Charles, he just died here December, wasn't he?
Yeah.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah,
Christmas.
Christmas
I think it's
Eve.
Christmas Eve.
Oh, well,
Half
that's
hour.
Herbert, he died about, you said 7 years.
7 years ago. Yeah, I had a paper, I went and looked it up.
mm-hmm.
Then one of his brothers that died, was Kyle. And I
Yeah,
don't remember the other one. What was the other?
he was the one that was older than me. He
Well,
was
what was the other one's name? It was two of them.
Schuler.
Sheila
Mm-hmm.
and
Mhm.
Kyle.
Wow, that's great. Well, I don't want to overstay my welcome, but I do want to say how much I appreciated your taking the time to see me and tell the stories about my grandfather.
I just wish I knew.
and about my dad.
Sometimes I think I must have been just real ignorant.
Get
But
her
like I
taste.
said, Mama never taught one thing. I guess all she knew how to do was just work, because that's all I ever. Anything she could do, work, and that's what she done.
What kind of work did she do?
Well, she worked in the cotton mill some, but mostly just a housewife.
Mm-hmm.
And she raised a garden, raised chickens, raised a cow. That's how she fed us.
Mm-hmm.
And she sewed in her spare time. And I was just telling the children.
Spare time, that's,
I was telling the children just a few days ago, because, she was just my heart and soul. She was all I had.
Yeah.
Anyway, sometimes I wonder if she ever even sat down and eat. I get to sit thinking a lot of times. And, I can hardly ever remember her sitting down to eat with us. She was always up stirring something on the stove, churning, sewing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I caught one cocktail on fire one time with my back set to the fireplace, and she had been milking. She run in with milk. She took the milk down, picked up a big old long apron and threw it around me,
Oh,
putting the fire out. I can remember all those things.
yeah. My goodness, that's an amazing story. That really is, and
And
it.
Lucy set my hair on fire, but her and Grant was.
Well, she's not here to defend
Lucy
herself,
and
so.
Grant was doing some,
Mhm.
and I got my nose stuck in it, and was bending over Lucy and her candle. She had a lit candle, and my hand caught a fire, and she patted that out.
My good.
When you dropped his daddy on his head.
Oh, walking up. She told me that.
I told
that story.
I'll never forget that, because Walter was pretty straight.
Mhm.
And I mean, I was scared. And Bill, well, he was too little to tell him. But anyway, he wasn't.
Well, now, how old were you at the time? You were probably
I was
11?
11. That was when
Okay.
we went up there when
Mhm.
Shannon was born.
Well, 11 is such a young age, and you were
And
trying.
I was so stupid.
No, I don't think that's it at all. I think it was probably that you were trying very hard to help out your nice older brother.
Well, and I always loved babies all my life.
Hmm.
And I sure have been blessed with them.
Well, I'm glad you didn't drop him too hard, because otherwise I wouldn't be here.
And I do know I didn't get to go to school like I should have. For one thing, I stayed sick half the time.
Why didn't you get to go to school?
Well, for one thing, I was premature.
Oh, is that
And
right?
and I didn't weigh but 3.5 pounds.
Oh, my
Mama
goodness.
If it come cold weather, Mom was scared to let me out of the house because I had pneumonia so many times.
In 1915, a 3.5-pound baby was
and
very
born at home,
born at home.
uh-huh,
How many months premature were you? Do you know?
but I was 7 months.
7 months.
Uh-huh.
My goodness.
And I
So,
remember Mama saying that she weighed 3.5 pounds. And I had pneumonia, double pneumonia, when I was about 1 year old. I had it again when I was 7. I always had a cold or the flu.
Mhm.
So she kept me out of school about half the time, you know.
is that right?
And then, well, I just didn't get no education. And she had a stroke when I was in the 4th grade.
Oh boy.
And she had to break up housekeeping, and Jamie helped a lot then. And then he moved us to Martinsville in a big old house out in the country.
Mhm.
And the bus didn't run out there, the school bus.
Mhm.
And Mama wouldn't let me walk it, so I missed that whole year.
How far was it to school?
About 3 miles.
3
into
miles.
town.
And that would have taken about 2 hours each way to
well,
walk.
If
wouldn't it?
she wouldn't have let me walk
And
it.
if you had walked it.
Oh,
And-
she let Grant
Yeah.
go, my brother, but she
Mhm.
wouldn't let me, because I was always so sick.
Mhm.
And,
So, no, what grade did you go to? What was the grade?
I was promoted to the 6th,
Oh,
so as
okay.
far as I got.
That's all right.
And I missed another whole year. I was going to tell you that too. See,
Mm-hmm.
after she had that first stroke, she recovered from that,
Mm.
and they moved in with Grandpa Miller, her daddy. Her daddy was real feeble.
That
And
was Connie.
She was looking
Mhm.
after him. But then she had
Oh.
another stroke while she was living with him. And I had to get out of school then too, because she didn't have nobody to stay with her. Luce and Jamie both were
Mhm.
working.
Mhm.
And she got a strength enough so she could walk. And I'd walk in front of her, she'd hold on to my shoulders till she
Mhm.
got to where she was strong enough to.
And she was 51 years old.
She was 52 when
52 when
she
she died. That's
young, isn't it?
that's very young.
Well, she killed herself she killed herself making a living for others, is what she done.
Taking care of her children and her
Yeah,
family.
Yeah, she was
And-
a little bitty woman too.
She was. How big was she?
Well, she never weighed over 111 except when she was pregnant. She was 5'2", same
Mhm.
I am,
Mm-hmm.
but she wasn't nothing like as fat as I am. She was real little.
Wow. And she took care of her father when he was ill.
Yeah, he had gotten too old. Well, he was trying to work, but then he had to quit. You know, when we moved in with him, that was after she got over her first stroke.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And then, and she was looking after him.
And then after she passed away when you were 14, and where did you live then?
And we lived in Martinsville with him when she passed away.
Mhm.
No, she had done gone back to work. Went back to work in Leaksville, and got us a little apartment to stay in.
Mhm.
And me and her was living alone.
Mm.
And when she died, when she had her last stroke, it was on a Sunday morning, and she was in the kitchen fixing some breakfast. And she called, I was in the bedroom, and she called, there was pain broken out of the one of the windows in the kitchen.
Mm-hmm.
And she asked me to get a piece of cardboard and put over it,
Mm-hmm.
and I did. I guess she was getting kind of numb or cold.
Mm.
And it wasn't just a few minutes before she come in and sat down in the chair. And she had that was the last stroke she
Wow.
had.
And then
She
where,
lived 14 days without eating. She couldn't swallow anything. And I was right by myself, and I had to run to James. He lived, I guess it was Alabama mile. No phones at that time, well, we didn't have one.
Mhm.
And I run and got Penn and Jamie, and they came over there
And
and got the doctor, and she lived 14 days.
and she stayed at home.
Oh, yeah.
Because you didn't go to the hospital for 2 weeks then, the way they do
That's right.
now.
All the family come in and out.
And did you go live with someone else then, or were you on your own after that?
I went to live with my sister Lucy.
You went to live with Lucy.
Yeah, I went. They took me on home after Mama's funeral,
Hmm.
and I stayed with her in Klein for a good while, and then I went and stayed with Jamie and Fanny a little while. But I'd always go back to Lucy's.
Hmm.
I went to work when I was 15.
And what kind of work that was
I went
in?
to work in was a knitting mill where they made underwear, sweatshirts, and
Oh, okay.
long johns,
Hmm. Hmm.
and told a story about my age to get a job.
That's great. Well, thank you. I think my battery is out, or my videotape is out. So I'm gonna say bye bye for now, and thank you very much.